Good morning, it's Luke, the Urban Farmer. It is Sunday, May 29th, and it feels like March. It's like 40 something degrees. Last Sunday it was like in the 90s, so it's like 40 degrees colder anyway. It's rainy, it's nasty. It's supposed to warm up in a few days, but that's May in New England. Okay, so I came out this morning and noticed that something has decided to eat all the tops off of my cucumber plants. These are pickling cucumbers. Didn't touch anything else, just that. So I'm thinking it's got to be rabbits. I don't have this area protected or fenced in yet because it's never been an issue, but maybe because everything else is fenced in and is not being touched, they've decided to go for the path of least resistance and attack the cucumbers. Nasturtiums, dill, marigolds, tomatoes, zinnias, everything else in this area is fine. It's just legitimately the cucumbers. So I will be putting up some netting today. Unfortunately, I've got this trellis and cattle fence here, so it'll be easy to install some bird netting over this to keep the rabbits out. Okay, question a lot of you have. You can see tomatoes are all kind of growing quite nicely. And this is not a day for barefoot gardening, unfortunately. It's too damn cold. What do I do with tomato plants that are blossoming early, like there? This is sun sugar cherry tomato, and it's already getting blossoms, and it's like maybe foot and a half feet tall or something. We've got some blossoms over here on this San Marzano plum tomato. Blossoms on this San Marzano. Plant's not even a foot tall yet. Blossoms on this, blossoms on that. Everything basically has blossoms on it. So what do we do? Also, we've got suckers. So suckers are the little growth that grows between the main stem, which is here, and a fruiting branch, which is here. These typically do not produce fruit. So do we keep them? Do we remove them? I remove them, especially on indeterminate varieties that can grow up to, this is mortgage lifter. I mean, this legit can grow up to 8 to 12 feet tall. So by removing these little suckers, which grow in the notch, again, between the main stem and a fruiting branch, you see there's another one here. Well, and right above that is a flower. So we're going to pinch that out, but I don't want this plant to start fruiting when it's only a foot tall, because it's going to take away all the energy from the roots and leaf growth, and it will produce fewer blossoms and tomatoes in the long run if we allow it to start fruiting now. So I'm going to pinch off, as much as it hates me to do that, I'm going to pinch off this flower blossom right here. We'll let the rest of this go for a little bit. Well, we've got another sucker we can pinch out here. This way we're going to develop a taller, stronger plant and having a more abundant harvest as time goes on. Now, cherry tomato plant, I'm not so concerned about this, because I had a cherry tomato plant last year that grew to probably the tallest tomato I had last year, and it was 8-10 feet tall. I don't know, it was out of control. But I am going to pinch off a few of these suckers. I am going to leave these blossoms on, and I'm going to leave these blossoms on. And while I'm here, if you're not having bees and stuff, and we're certainly not having any bees to pollinate these flowers on a rainy day like this, the way to hand pollinate tomatoes to get them to actually form fruit, because without a pollinator they're not going to, is you just kind of flick the tomato blossoms with a finger, and that's all you need to do to pollinate them. And then they will form fruit. You can see there's one little baby cherry tomato already forming there. And if you have plants that blossom but don't bear fruit, it means they weren't pollinated. So to ensure they form fruit, form tomatoes, hand pollinate them. I'm going to pinch off just a couple of these suckers, but I'm going to leave the blossoms on for the time being. And by getting rid of some of these suckers, once again, more energy will go into producing better root system. Better roots mean more nutrients. More nutrients mean stronger plant. And it's getting to the point where I'm going to have to start kind of staking these up a bit. Now this, okay, we've got our San Marzano plum tomato. We've got suckers. We've got, it's a foot tall. We've got blossoms. Sorry, blossoms are going. Suckers are going. More suckers in here. Suckers come off real easily. You can just pinch them off with your fingers. And that's all I'm going to do to this one for now. Again, over here, not even a foot tall, and it's blossoming. If I allow it to form tomatoes right now, the plant will stay small. It won't produce a lot of tomatoes. It won't develop really strong roots. So off the suckers go. And usually I try to trim these up so that there's plenty of space between the ground and the first set of leaves. I might even take like that off in a little bit. I'll certainly take like these lower leaves off because it will provide for better air circulation. Here we've got another variety. I think all of my tomatoes are indeterminate, which means they can grow indefinitely and produce throughout the season. Determinate tomatoes are like a bush variety of tomato. They grow to like maybe 3 or 4 feet tall. They have basically one harvest. It's one and done. So those, you don't remove blossoms, you don't remove suckers, you just kind of let them be because they produce fruit once and that's it. But the varieties that will grow fruit right up until the frost, you should allow them to develop really strong plants first before they fruit. So we get rid of the suckers on this, and this is a, this is a Beefmaster, and it will grow 1 to 2 pound fruits. It's not going to if it blossoms when it's only 1.5 feet tall. Okay, continuing along. A German Johnson heirloom tomato. It is, I'm assuming it's an indeterminate variety. In any event, it's blossoming way too early for the size of the plant. I mean, it's like not even 1 foot tall. So, sorry, flowers pinching off. Sorry, trying to form a tomato here. So we're getting rid of this as well. There's a whole crap load of blossoms here. See, each of these flowers would have formed a tomato on a plant that's like 1 foot tall. So it's really too, getting rid of that sucker as well, it's really too early for them to start bearing fruit. It's only May. So we've got easily here in New England, June, July, August, September. We've got at least 4 good months of tomatoes growing and harvesting. Typically I have my bumper crop around the 2nd, 3rd week of August. Here we have a Cherokee Purple, another heirloom variety of tomato that's already setting a ton of blossoms. Plant, again, you know, 12 to 18 inches tall. Blossoms now off. and removing a few suckers. So again, allowing this plant to grow. I've got some really aggressive robins this year that are constantly digging for worms and stuff. This is 4th of July tomato, and it's one of the earliest producers, but I'm just getting rid of some suckers. This has not, I think that's what it is anyway. I could be wrong. I don't know. This might be mislabeled. This might be some of the ones the Old Carolina variety that I started from seed. Shall see what it is. We've got sunflowers growing here. I've got to get out here and do a little weeding. This is salt marsh hay, which is a seedless hay, so you don't end up growing hay in your garden. And it keeps down some weeds, keeps in the moisture, keeps mud from splattering back up on your plants. And you can see an up-close picture here of the decimated cucumber plants. But fortunately, wow, that, okay, we got some, looks like this is some dill here that also, oh yeah, they also got to some of the dill. So this whole area is going to be protected. And it just attacked the smaller dill plants and not the bigger dill plants. So interesting. Again, I'm assuming it's a rabbit. Now, over here, our onions are doing well, quite well. Potatoes are doing really well. So we will go, let's see, from right to left. Then we've got bush beans. Here is my Three Sisters bed, which is an heirloom corn, a blue variety of pumpkin, and pole beans. And they will all kind of grow together, support each other. And then over here we come to our herbs. We've got parsley, rosemary, oregano, thyme, sage is over here. Peppers and lettuces in containers over there. This is asparagus that just kind of didn't harvest it this year, just kind of letting it do its thing. It's pretty. It's kind of a lacy plant and it's all kind of flowering right now. So for now, that is it. My task today is going to be to protect the cucumber and dill, and so that I can make plenty of pickles this year. I mean, cucumbers are amazingly resilient. This is like something that's self-seeded. I assume it's a cucumber, and it's from overwintered or whatever, and it's growing up between the cracks. I did not plant that this year. So a little bird netting, like let's see, like right here. This will do the trick. Whoops. This will do the trick nicely. I'll just kind of put this all along the trellis and staple that up, and we should be nice and protected. So I'm going to wait for a little break in the rain to do that. Let's see. So, you know, corn is doing really well. I haven't grown corn for a long time, so I'm really excited to see how that turns out, especially since this is an heirloom variety of corn that was grown by the Wampanoag Indians, which were native to this area back before the Pilgrims arrived. Okay, over here we do have a little damage to some of the bush beans, some of the leaves eaten off. So this is getting so frustrating. Up until last year I never really had a problem. Actually, a fair amount of the leaves have been eaten off of some of these bean seedlings. I'm going to have to be creative, and I've got like a high frequency repellent solar powered strobe light, high frequency thing over there. You can see it flashing in the background near the bird bath. That doesn't seem to be doing the trick. I did, for a fail-safe method, since all of my beans last year kept getting chowed down, I did plant bush beans in a container, and I've got my peppers in pots, and I've got my carrots and radishes in pots and containers. These are daikon radishes. I'm not sure, these almost look like they might be ready to harvest. I'm going to have to kind of, let's pull one just for the fun of it, because this is gigantic. Just kind of, okay, that's daikon radish. That still has some ways to go before it's, because they can get really big. So I'm going to let that be, let them be, I should say. Carrots are doing well in that one. These carrots over here are a fingerling type, so they're only grow about as big as your finger. I've got to thin these out a bit. And lettuces are ready for some salads. But I've got some predator problems, so I'm going to have to deal with that today. So until next time, this is Luke. Happy gardening. Check me out on Facebook, Luke the Urban Farmer Facebook group, and happy gardening, folks. May your day be filled with abundance.